Hey guys, what is happening this morning? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another exciting episode of Lost Horizon Fishing. My name is Dan and we are out here at beautiful Anaheim Bay this morning. Perfect conditions, a great incoming tide, no wind, really warm water, and I feel like we're definitely going to catch a fish.
You got to ask yourself a question. Are you actually going to catch a fish today? Or are you just going to waste our time?
Come on, Clint, ease up, buddy, relax. Fishing is supposed to be fun, and of course we're going to catch a fish, because I wouldn't do a fishing video if I caught nothing. All right, throw out that first cast. So beautiful out. Oh, there we go. We got a little bite. Oh, he's back. He's back. There we go. That's a nice first cast of the morning. Feels like a medium-sized spotty, I'm thinking. Actually, it's not a bad spotty at all. Yeah, decent sized one actually. Nice one to start the morning off with. Let's check this guy out. Got him on a 1/4 ounce Warbaits underspin and a 3-inch Kitech. Oh, yeah, this guy is beefy. Look at this guy, nice spotty to start the morning off with. No complaints here. Look at this beautiful fish. All right, let's let this big guy back in the water. Beautiful fish to start the morning off with. Oh, and there he goes. Well, all right, guys, let me give you the first spotted bay bass fishing tip of the day. And that tip is scent, also known as fish attractant. Now, I always use it for spotted bay bass fishing. I mean, some people will tell you that it doesn't work, but I feel like it does work. And at the very least, it masks the smell of your sunscreen, your sweat, anything you might transfer from your hands onto the swim bait. So for me, this is definitely part of my spotted bay bass fishing routine. Now, here's a trick for not getting the fish scent all over your hands. What I do is I'll squirt some into this bag, just a typical Ziploc bag, and I'll squish it around. And then instead of putting it directly on the swim bait and getting it all over your hands, you just put the swim bait in the bag like that, just squish it around. You don't want to get the thing all gooped up, but just get a little bit on the tail like that and you're good to go. And that way you're keeping it off your hands. It's not perfect, you always get a little on your hands, but definitely it works out well. There we go. Feels like a decent spotty maybe. He's okay. Come here, buddy, come on. There we go. Yeah, not a bad little fish. Not bad. We'll take him. Pretty good action out here, but just beautiful conditions. You know, even though I really enjoy doing beach launches and fishing in open water in my new Stealth Fish at 555, there is something very fun and very relaxing about spotted bay bass fishing. Let's let this guy back in the water. Hey guys, check out what I'm fishing with this morning. This is Daiwa's new, I shouldn't really call it new, it's probably been out for about a year and a half or so. But this is the Daiwa Coastal SVTW 150HS. And it's sort of like an updated version of the old Daiwa Tatula SVs. I have probably 3 or 4 of those and they've held up nicely. This thing has an aluminum body, so it's even a little lighter than the Daiwa Tatula SV. And it's super smooth, I really like it. And the combination of this reel on the Phoenix Feather Series rod, I mean, this thing is weightless, really fun to fish with and perfect for spotted bay bass fishing. Spotted bay bass fishing tip number 2, water movement. Ideally, you want to pick a day when you have a rapidly rising or a rapidly falling tide. and that'll give you a lot of water movement. Now, it's possible to catch a spotty during slack tide, but you definitely have to work harder because spotties are always lying in wait. They're always hitting behind structure, and they're waiting for that current, that rapidly moving water, to bring some food their way, and then they race out and slam it. So the best situation is as much water movement as possible. So when it comes to fishing for spotties, remember, water movement, one of the key factors. There we go. All right, a little more decent spotty there. Not too shabby. There we go. Yeah, a little better fish. Awesome, beauty. Look at him back in the water there. Nice. Spotted bay bass fishing, tip number 3. Your main line and your leader combination. Pretty much every serious spotted bay bass fisherman is going to be using braid for their main line and fluorocarbon for their leader. In my case, I use 20-pound Power Pro braid, and then I use a fluorocarbon leader that's usually about 5 to 6 feet in length. And I always use 15-pound for my fluorocarbon leaders. You can obviously go lighter than that. You can use 6, you can use 8, you can use 10. But the problem with using a fluorocarbon leader that light is that you risk losing a lot of gear. I mean, you had to take a Warbaits jig head that you paid, 10 or 11 bucks for, and then leave it stuck on the bottom. And trust me, if you're using an 8-pound fluorocarbon leader, you're going to lose a lot of gear. And over the years, I've kind of played around. I used to use 12-pound, and now I've kind of settled on 15-pound. The best combination for catching spotties, 20-pound braid and a 15-pound fluorocarbon leader. Yeah, I got a little one on here, I think. Bite's picked up nicely with the incoming tide. Let's get this guy back in the water. Spotted bay bass fishing tip number 4, the knots I use. For spotted bay bass fishing, there's really only 2 knots that I use. I use an FG knot to make that connection between the braid and the fluorocarbon. And that knot is amazing. It's super strong and it's ultra thin, and it goes through the guides on your fishing pole super smooth. And then to connect my jig head to the end of the fluorocarbon, I just use a simple uni knot. That is also very strong. It's easy to tie, and it works great. Spotted bay bass fishing tip number 5, the drag setting on your reel. Everybody that's fished for spotted bay bass, or any kind of fishing really, has made this mistake. You throw out your first cast, some fish slams your lure, and you go to set your hook, but you forgot to tighten down your drag, and you totally blow it and you miss the fish. And at the other end of the spectrum, I don't like to have my drag tightened all the way down, at least not for spotted bay bass fishing, because the combination of braid, which has 0 stretch, and fluorocarbon that has a little bit of stretch, if you crank your drag all the way down, when you go to set that hook, and I'm as guilty as anybody, when I get a bite, I'm always excited, and bam, I'll set that hook pretty hard. And if you have your drag buttoned all the way down, you risk kind of creating a big hole in the lip of the spotty, and you really want to avoid that. And so I'll have my drag turned down a little bit, not a lot, but just enough that there's a little extra give in there to avoid putting that hole in the spotty lip. There we go, a little spotty. Nice. Not a bad little fish. There we go, little guy, not too bad. Let's get him back in the water. Well, we caught quite a few spotties today. Not a fabulous day, that's for sure. Got that one nice big monster spotty earlier in the morning, though. That was a nice one. The rest of them were pretty average, but you know what they say, a bad day of fishing is always better than the best day at work. Spotted bay bass fishing tip number 6, jig heads and swim baits. Because Huntington Harbor is relatively shallow, it really doesn't get much deeper than 20 feet. And most of the time when you're fishing for spotties, you're probably in water that's like 8 to 15 feet deep. And because of that, I'll usually use 1/4 ounce jig heads, and sometimes I'll use 3/8 ounce, but rarely ever do I throw anything heavier than that in here. My favorite brands are War Baits. I love their underspin, and I also like the Cool Baits underspin. Both of those products work awesome, and I've caught a lot of spotted bay bass with both of those products. As far as swim baits, I usually stick in the 3-inch to 4-inch range. I love Kitech swim baits, and I also use a lot of Big Hammer swim baits. Both of those, same situation. I've caught many, many spotties on both of those. And I also don't want to forget about hookup baits. During the winter time when the water is colder in here in the low 60s and the upper 50s, the hookup baits work amazing. And for hookup baits, I always throw 1/4 ounce. I never throw anything heavier than that. Spotted bay bass fishing tip number 7. And this is the most important one of all. When you catch a spotted bay bass, even if it's over 14 inches, always let it go. There's really no reason to keep a spotted bay bass. I've literally caught hundreds of them here in Huntington Harbor, and I always let them go. What are those lyrics to that Sting song? If you love someone, set them free. Well, I love spotted bay bass, and I always let them free. So that's my most important tip of the day. When you catch a spotted bay bass, always let it go. Well, all right, guys, I am going to end this episode of Lost Horizon Fishing. If you enjoyed this video, smash that like button. And if you have not subscribed yet to Lost Horizon Fishing, why not? Do it now. And I will see you out on the water.